Okay, at this time, we'll go ahead and call the Maverick County Commissioners Court special meeting to order. Today is Friday, June 7th, 2024. It is 2:43 p.m. There has been an establishment of quorum with all members of the Commissioners Court present, for the exception of Commissioner Reese. At this time, if we can go ahead and proceed with citizens' communications and recognitions. There is one citizens' communication form that is submitted by Sheriff Schmerber. Sheriff, are you here? If you wish to address the court in regards to any item, I believe it might be line item SB 22.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yes.
Judge, thank you very much for this time. My discussion is in reference to the line item. It's a line item that's not included in this agenda. We submitted, it's in reference to SB 22, and it's in reference to things that we are preparing for our deputies and jailers, the SB 22. We're afraid that if it doesn't go through Commissioner's Court, we might lose that money. I mean, we don't want to lose it because everything is correct. Everything should be not legally. I mean, I'm saying legally, but the correct word would be correct. No mistakes. And I'm hoping that you would consider that. It'd be nice if we can review that today.
Sure.
It'd be nice
well,
if we can.
I know that you've submitted an item that was submitted to me, and Mrs. Romero did inform me in reference to that. So we'll be addressing that at a future date.
I would appreciate it very much. It has to be. It's reference to the SB 22, the pay of the jailers and the deputies. So we want to make sure that we won't lose the money.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate it. If there are no other citizens' communication forms that have been submitted, we'll go ahead and proceed with the consent agenda, items 1 through 32. The agreement, Commissioner Morales, yes. 32 will remain as
yes,
is?
Sir.
Okay, very well. Items 1 through 32, is there a motion to proceed with moving the consent items, or is there any?
Judge, I need to just remove item number 9.
Completely from the agenda, or place into regular?
No.
Completely
removed.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, with the item that has been requested for the removal of the consent agenda, is there a motion to accept items 1 through 32 for the exception of item number 9?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Rios. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ramos. Discussion? Being that there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Moving on to item number 33. Discussion and appropriate action to accept an open request for proposals for US 277 water line boring and water line. So for the record, the County Clerk's Office has informed the court that there were 3 submissions for this particular water line boring, and these were submitted on time, correct, Ms. Yes. Okay, the first one that we will open will be from Alvin E. Stock Contractor, LLC, received on May 20th at 11:13 a.m. Okay, let the record reflect that there is 2 packets, including what is the bonds and the proposals on this water line, alongside with a USB. There's no reason at this point from the auditing perspective to list pricing correct on this issue. Is that correct? Right. This one is listed as an just on the IRFP boring expansion. This item was received on May 20th at 12:14 p.m. at the County Clerk's Office. This is being received from R&R Utility Construction, LLC. They have submitted 2 packets alongside with the USB pertaining to the project. And the third and final has been from that was received at the county clerk's office on May 20th, 2024 at 1:35 p.m. Was received from Terra Tech Engineering and Construction Services, Inc. They have submitted two identical packets, along with the USB considering the projects that have been listed. These are the three packets that need to be reviewed for proposals by a committee. Is there a motion to accept or reject the packets?
So moved, Judge.
Motion to accept, is that correct?
To accept.
Very well. Motion has been made by Commissioner Ramos. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rios. Discussion? Being that there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Moving on, item number 34, discussion and appropriate action to advertise for requests for proposals for electricity service provider. I believe the last time that the county's gone out for this was approximately how long ago on this service provider for this? 5 years ago. So there's a need for us to go ahead and check on the service provider for this RFP. So we're bringing this to the court for consideration to pretty much make sure that we're getting the best savings possible for the county on the kilowatt per hour. Is there a motion to go out for the RFP process?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Rios. Is there a second?
Second, Judge.
Second has been made by Commissioner Ramos. Discussion? Being that there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Item number 35, discussion and appropriate action to open RFQ packets for engineering services for Maverick County 2024 Colonia Fund Construction, Texas CDBG Colonia Program application. I'm going to provide all of these back to you because I don't want them to be mixed up.
I don't know if I need to mention this one. Didn't have anything in the front. It was open, but Luis and two deputies from the office witnessed that it was closed back. It was received by mail and this one too. So it's a total of three. And they were received on time.
So these three were received on time?
Yes.
I hope this marked as a bid. In regards to this, just as far as on witnessing on this particular matter, Mr. Rodriguez, was there any issue with this particular?
No.
Is there any questions from the court on that matter? No. Then the court, county clerk's office has informed the court that there has been three packets that have been received specifically from three distinct companies. We'll go ahead and open the first one that was received on May 28th, 2024 at 10:48 a.m. And all of these met within the time frame and requirements, correct, Ms. Olin? Yes. Okay, for the proposed contract for the funding for the 2024 Colonia Fund Construction Program, this first packet that is received is a bound package from Vickery ESP Company. The second packet was received on May 30th, 2024 at 1:28 p.m. The second packet was for the RFP for the Colonia Fund Construction Program that has been submitted by Triune LLC, engineering firm. And the third packet that was received at the county clerk's office was filed at May 29th, 2024 at 2:52 p.m. The third one is being submitted by Garcia and Wright Consulting Engineers, Inc. They've submitted a total of 6 packets for the committee review session. These are the 3 proposals that have been received for the Texas CDBG Colonia program application. Is there a motion to accept or, of course, reject the proposals that have been submitted? Is there a motion?
Motion to accept, Judge.
Motion has been made to accept on this procedure. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rios. Discussion? Being that there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Item number 36. Discussion and appropriate action to request the change of employment status of the following employees on the attached list from exempt to non-exempt as per the Fair Labor Standard Act, FLSA overtime rule, effective July 1st, 2024. Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, this is something that will go into effect, or this change will go into effect on those employees earning. And the information I gave you is on hourly rates, and the hourly rate as we have it right now is $17.02 per hour. The new exempt salary would be $21.01 in order to be able to be considered as an exempt employee. Any employee that's exempt right now and is making less than $21.01 needs to be changed back to non-exempt. The list that I provided to commissioners and county judge indicate the number of employees that we have and who we have, and those changes need to be changed by July the 1st. Let me just point out that there's something else, another change that will go into effect on January the 1st of 2025. However, based on the information that I've been reading, a lot of it depends on the elections, in November elections, because if they decide, the powers to be, if they decide that they want to not proceed with the other jump, which will be it's a lot higher than this is 50, instead of 43,000, it will go to 53,000. So if it continues moving forward, then I'll be coming back and making that additional change.
Okay. But as of right now, for the changes, we're only looking at the 27 employees that have been listed on the document
correct,
that you provided to the court.
Yes, sir.
And that's countywide.
Right.
Okay. Are there any questions from the court?
And those employees it's because they're non-exempt?
Yes, currently. So their exemption status is under the 2101.
Mm-hmm.
So all of these currently are listed as
That's correct.
non-exempt employees.
That's correct.
So if they're making anything less than 2101,
They're going to be hiked
then
up to
they
21.
have to they will fall under hourly rate because they're currently considered salary.
Okay.
So they're going to go back.
They're going to go back
clocking
to clocking in and clocking out.
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes.
And again, that is based on the I guess on their occupation, the titles, and whoever
Well,
doesn't
it's
fall.
based on, first of all, it starts on the salary. You know, they have to be making a certain salary.
Right.
And if they're making below that salary, at this point right now, it's $17.02 per hour.
Per hour.
Okay? So you're making less than that or more than that, then you will be considered exempt. That's currently what we have.
Okay.
Come July the 1st, anyone that's making less than $21.01 per hour would go back to non-exempt.
Hourly.
Non-exempt meaning hourly rate, you know, they're entitled to overtime and so forth.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Yes.
Will you be sending them a memo to notify them? Do they already?
Yes, I will as soon as Monday. I'll go ahead and send it out to the appropriate departments. I did send it out to all the commissioners and the judge and our county attorney. However, once it's approved, then I'll send it to
Individually.
individuals.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Just so that they're fully notified on that issue. So then we can go ahead and take care of that. Is there any other questions? If not, is there a motion?
So moved, Judge.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Morales. Is there a second?
Second?
Second has been made by Commissioner Rios. Discussion? Being that there are none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez. Moving on to item number 37, discussion and appropriate action to waive orientation period for Claudia Crystal White for the assistant position under the county attorney's SB 22 grant. She is a rehire with the department effective start date Tuesday, May 28th, 2024. Mr. Irocheta.
Commissioner, Judge, this is just a simple rehire. She was an employee of mine, and now she's back under the grant. So we're just asking for the court's permission to waive her orientation period, just standard practice here with the court, so she doesn't have to go through the orientation period all over again.
Her rehire date specifically, or when was she let go on that item?
When was she let go?
What, did she leave the department?
Yes, so she left for military reasons, and then now she's back here. So ultimately, she's a rehire.
And how long ago, more or less, was that?
I want to say it was probably 4 to 5 months.
Questions from the court?
So moved, Judge.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Ramos. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Commissioner Rios. Discussion? Being that there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Chita. Moving on to item number 38, discussion and appropriate action to approve and ratify for the Elections Office to pay the replacement clerks for the May 28, 2024 primary runoff election. Ms. Villarreal? I don't know if you have documentation on the court on that specifically.
I hope that you had it, sir. I'm sorry.
No, we didn't receive the actual backup. That was the only thing somehow.
And my clerk's not available today,
Okay.
so but it was just a change in last minute change on the election clerks. There was I think 2 election clerks for the early, and then some election clerks at the central county. So there was just a change of clerks. Is what it was.
But it was not. It was a change of person, basically. The
It was not-
budget did not change in
No,
any way,
sir.
shape, or form.
No, sir, not at all.
So this is a name change.
Yes, sir.
Basically on that issue.
Yes.
Where's this?
The initial clerks that we anticipated to have, there for some reason there were some changes, and we had to hire on a different clerk for that particular election.
Okay. So there's no reflective change on the budget or any reflective change
No,
on
sir.
the need for additional funding or amendments?
No,
that need to
just
be
a
made?
notification that, you had the list that I provided prior to the election on the selected election clerks. There was some adjustments there. We changed 2 of the clerks.
So based on the name change and the request that has been made, I'm pretty sure that this was done by the parties, the request that was done by the party.
Yes.
I know that there had been a reason that they had reached out specifically from the Republican Party, is that not correct?
Yes.
Some changes specifically?
Correct.
For those. Are there any concerns from the court that need to be addressed by the Elections Office? If not, is there a motion to proceed?
Judge,
Yes.
I would like to take the time to acknowledge and congratulate Mrs. Amari. Even though she faced certain circumstances on election night, she was able to pull through, and it was a hard situation, but I congratulate you and your staff and everybody involved in
I appreciate that, Commissioner.
holding everybody out here and getting what needed to be done.
I appreciate that,
So,
Commissioner.
You know,
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms.
Yeah.
Villarreal, because I know it was quite a long night for you.
it's quite a long night.
Somewhat, but thank
And
you.
I know that we've already been in discussions as far as on the next plans for the equipment that we need to be looking at.
Yes, we
and
send
the
you
options
we
for
send
the
a
quotes.
quote, and and we're free to discuss it and go on.
The last thing that we want to do is to have that problem on a full-blown
I don't want to
election
foresee that
where
problem
they
in
have to go on
November.
to a
I
hand
don't.
count. So,
I don't want to foresee that.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Commissioner.
Yes.
Appreciate your words.
That'll be my
Thank
motion,
you.
The
Judge.
court.
motion has been made by Commissioner Morales. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ramos. Discussion? Being that there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you, Ms. Guerra.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on to item number 39, discussion and appropriate action to approve the replat of Lot 54, Block 1, El Pueblo Nuevo subdivision. Specifically on this item, Planning Department? No, they're coming in specifically. Is there any information specifically or any questions that is had on the item number 39 for this item? Are there any questions?
So what is,
So this is a replat of Lot 54, Block 1, El Pueblo Nuevo subdivision, specifically on the mapping that has been provided. It's just simply the 1 lot to 2 lot.
Yes, it's simply just divide it down the middle so that the owner can simply just divide it with their son and daughter. So that's a simple replat for that. Yep.
thank you.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Rios. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Ramos. Discussion? Being that there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you all. Moving on to item number, make sure I have this one right here. Item number 40, discussion and appropriate action to transfer Cristina Villarreal, full-time jailer to Maverick County Sheriff's Department at a pay rate of $17.82 per hour to full-time deputy sheriff at a pay rate of $20.05 per hour. Mr. Chief de Leon?
Yes. She was a jailer for several years. Now she has her Texas Peace Officer license, so we transferred her to patrol. And we do have the budget for her position.
Is there a motion?
So moved, Judge.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Ramos. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rios. Discussion? Being that there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Item number 41, discussion and appropriate action to transfer Alberto Figueroa, full-time jailer with the Maverick County Sheriff's Department at a pay rate of $17.82 per hour to full-time deputy sheriff at a pay rate of $20.05 per hour.
That's the same issue. He was there for a year, and then he went and got his peace officer license, so he's been transferred to the patrol division.
This individual has been consistent in his employment with Maverick County?
Yes.
There was not a leave on this particular individual?
No. He took several days in reference to comp time. That's my understanding, in reference to Figueroa.
So the individual was never terminated?
No.
No?
I don't believe so.
No?
No.
So then in regards to that, is there a motion?
So moved, Judge.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Rios. Is there a second?
Second, Judge.
Second has been made by Commissioner Ramos. Discussion? If there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Thank you, Mr. Leon. Specifically on, and I guess and I should have, maybe I should have asked this question. I'm going to ask for the court's consideration. But Mr. Sanchez, on this individual, and I can just, because I know that I've seen lists that have come out specifically from the HR department. The individual in question here on item 41, has there been a release on this individual at any point?
Just to verify that he was
Give me one quick second.
HR office received a letter of separation or termination on Albert Figueroa, and then we were advised that he was being transferred to this particular position. So we had to make a correction. We had to remove that letter that they had provided us. And when I say they, from the Sheriff Department. Okay.
So the individual was released, terminated. Was there a payout given on that individual?
I don't know if the payoff was done, and if it was done, then he would come in as a new employee again. However, he wouldn't lose his orientation period or insurance,
Okay.
because he came back within a day or two. I don't know the. Right now, I can't tell you the timeline from such a date to such a date.
My only concern is as far as on the processes that were followed after the termination, and if there were actual payouts that were either given, or whether that was just specific to a rehire. There was just a simple, 2 days, transpired, and they went ahead and rehired him back.
Well, I hate to say this, that I don't keep up with the payoffs, or because I don't want to tell you no, he wasn't paid off. Because if he was paid off, then we have to follow that process.
Correct.
Okay. However, he still continues with waiving of the orientation period, because he came back within a few days, and also the insurance. If you come back within 12 weeks, you leave and come back within 12 weeks, then as per the contract that we have the insurance, we pick you up immediately. Otherwise, you have to wait the 3 months.
Correct. Okay.
So those are the two things that are affected.
Okay. Very well. Are there, if there's specifically on this issue, does the court have any questions? If they do, if we want to formally reopen the item on this issue? No. Does the court have any other questions? No.
It sounds like they.
Suggestions we're gonna make.
Okay, let me go ahead. Let me reopen the item. Just, commissioners, let me go ahead and we can have a motion to reopen item 41.
That's my motion.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Ramos. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rios. Discussion. Being that there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. So clarification then, points.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were instructed to make those changes for this pay period, but then we got the letter, so we didn't terminate him. It was going to be effective this pay period, so we didn't make those changes.
So there was.
Still active.
It's active. There has not been any
No.
issue specifically on that.
No.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to make sure, because I know that on the list that we received, I saw the name and it stood out.
Yes.
But I wanted to make sure that everything was cleared on that one.
Yes,
Just to clarify that he was terminated due to his license being expired. So, but it was in the change of when we were going to change him from a jailer to a deputy. So that's why the confusion, I guess.
Okay.
So he's a full-blown peace officer.
Yes.
Okay, specifically on that, just for that purpose.
Yes.
All right.
So we're good to go because we voted on
Yes.
it already. So.
Then there's no further action that's required on this item. Unless the court wishes to make any amendments to the item. No? Then no action is required at this point. Item number 42, discussion and appropriate action to recognize revenue in the amount of $14,744 in juror payment first quarter 2024. Thank you, Mr. Sanchez.
Thank you.
Mr. Vilma?
Commissioners, Judge, thank you very much. This is just an item that we put up in reference to the auditors and the processing of recognizing funds. These funds were funds that we paid out jury pays, as you know, and we have to submit every quarter a reimbursement of what the state will reimburse us, which that's the amount, and that'll go back into the jury payout to give us that flexibility to continue paying. I know in the month of June, I can tell you that we have several verniers that the judges are putting together for different court cases, and some of them dealing with OLS. But basically, it's just a reimbursement of funds.
Perfect. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Ramos. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Rios. Discussion? Being that there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Thank you,
Can
Mr.
we be
Vilma.
excused?
Yes.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 43, discussion and appropriate action to approve a resolution plan in support of the TxDOT Aviation Capital Improvement Plan engineer design and construction projects towards the Maverick County International Airport runway. Specifically on this item, Commissioner, I think, is there a withdrawal on this item, or are we pending still review on this?
No, we're ready. On this one, we're ready to move forward. We just need approval from the court. We got notification from Text.Aviation that they are ready to design and construct the runway. So they have already put our project in their capital improvement plan, and they just need a resolution from the court, which that was submitted as a backup, where we are committing to the 10% match of $6.9 million. So we're excited. It's a 10% match that we have to come up with, which is what we need the court to hopefully approve so that we can get a reconstruction of a runway soon. We've been 24 years waiting for this project, so we're excited for this.
Great.
And that's my motion.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Ramos. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rios. Discussion?
Judge,
Yes.
where will we be getting the 10% match?
So the funding specifically is through the fund that is currently available with the airport fund?
For the airport fund
Yes.
from the
original.
hotel?
The
Or the
original,
airport?
the original airport fund.
The original airport fund, okay. And we have that available?
Yes. We do.
Further questions?
Nope, that's it.
If not, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Moving on to item number 44, discussion and appropriate action to award professional services agreement for consulting, architectural, and engineering services of record for the Maverick County International Airport. I believe this is the one that is
That's
pending.
the one that I need to withdraw that for our next meeting. We need to have a meeting with the committee for the engineers selection. I'll bring that item back.
Very well. Commissioner then has withdrawn item number 44. Item number 45, discussion and appropriate action to approve budget amendments for fiscal year 2024. That's on item 45. Are there any questions regarding the budget amendments that have been submitted? It's approximately $14,744 in budget amendments from respective departments, line item changes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Commissioner Ramos. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rios. Discussion? Being that there is none, all those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous. Item number 46, executive session, closed session. Executive session on matters pursuant to section 551.071, discussion and appropriate action on presentation by county auditor on audit conducted on law enforcement offices regarding licensing and personnel payroll. Regards to this particular item, Mr. Trevino, the audit has been conducted on the licensing and as well as the reporting on payroll, correct?
Correct.
Very well. If the court's wishes to go ahead and proceed with this in executive session or open session, I know there are many officials that are here today from the Sheriff's Department that I'm pretty sure you all are here for items that are important for that. Is it the court's wishes to have this in open session or to have this in closed? If there are any legal questions, I'm pretty sure that that can be addressed in executive session, correct?
That's correct.
Very well. So in regards to that, is the court amenable to having this in open session?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Very well. Mr. Trevino? And I'll just ask the court to have for any consideration, just specifically on anything that's on the findings, that we reserve any legal questions that could come up for executive session behind with counsel. Yes, and could you please provide that same copy to the clerk?
Judge, Commissioners, good afternoon. As per the Commissioners Court request on April 26, I'm submitting the following findings. They're basically statistical amounts. There's, I'm not sure how, what criteria is used to assign overtime or to have people. I don't know how they determine who's going to serve the overtime. But either way, the following are my observations and reviews for overtime incurred by the Sheriff's Office and by the County Jail as requested by Commissioner's Court on meeting the 26th of April. I reviewed the following time periods. Fiscal year 23, which extends from October the 1st, 22 through September 30th of 23. The current fiscal period from October the 1st, 2023 through the pay period ending April 15th, 24. Starting off with the analysis on the Sheriff's Department for the fiscal year 23, there was 5,314 hours of accumulated overtime at a cost of $147,000. The highest, sorting the employees with the from highest to lowest, the highest officer that had with the most overtime had 14% of all the overtime, with an overtime pay of $24,000. Now, that one officer represents 2% of the force, but made 16% of the overtime of the whole office. The top two had 1,452 hours of overtime, and which represented a pay of $43,000. There, 2 out of 48 officers make up 4% of the force, and their percent of overtime made up 27% of the overtime for the department. And you can go on to 1 through the top 5. The top 5 had 2,300 hours of overtime, which represents 43% of the department's overtime, when you would expect it to make up 10%. 5 officers out of 48 is 10%, and they're with a variance of 33%, those top 5. And then they go, as you can see on page, the first.
Which one is that? The first actual page?
With the accumulation of overtime and.
That's for fiscal year 2023.
Yes. The rest dropped down quite a bit from.
So it's 1 to 48 specifically. There's 48 employees, obviously,
yes,
that are possibly looking at any type of overtime specifically. That range on an annual, from what I'm reading here on your report, Mr. Torvino, is that the 48th employee made $30 in overtime, and the number 1 ranking employee on the overtime made $24,202 in 1 year.
Correct.
The second one was 18,984, 9,000, 6,000, 7,000, 6,000, 5,000, and so on. So when I look at the report specifically, and the report that you've given us, obviously this doesn't have names on this report here. So when I'm looking at from fiscal year 2023 to fiscal year 2024.
Correct. Yes.
Which are that's the first page and the second page, correct? I just want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly.
Yes.
Okay. So item, let's say employee that's listed as item number 1227. That's the employee number or the I guess, rounding number that, or ID number that you all have for this employee. That's the same employee, item number 1227 for fiscal year 2024, and that's year to date.
He was a top earner of in both periods.
Again, so
Yes.
on item 20, so that employee, 1227, made in 2023 $24,212 in 12 months.
Correct.
Correct? And in right now, specifically for fiscal year 2024, which we're barely mid-year,
Correct.
he or she have made $21,305.
Correct.
Correct? So 2024 had 745 hours, and 2024 had 657 hours regarding that particular employee. It's just concerning when I start seeing numbers like that that are repetitive. I guess it's, for me, it's going to be important for us to sit down with the department and understand how the determination and the differences that are so high, specifically, let's say, on this one employee. Based on what I'm seeing, and based on your professional opinion, Mr. Trevino, specifically on the overtime rates and from what we're seeing, because I mean, I understand the concern, obviously, in trying to make sure that the officers have what is needed, but based on these rates, how many full-time officers could we actually employ per with the departments based on this? Was there a number that y'all had looked at more or less?
Yes, Judge. I believe it. Okay, the fiscal year. For the fiscal year, let's see. I'm going to read on the summary here. There's approximately 3 full-time officers.
They could be added to the force.
Yes.
With the rates that we're looking at.
Yes, Your Honor.
So specifically on that's it's concerning just to see how the processes are set in place, and that's kind of what I wanted to make sure the court was informed on when we're going through this issue. And mind you, this is not targeting in any way, shape, or form the department. My only concern is making sure that we are looking at this from a respective way of, if there's going to be overtime, then we need to make sure that this is pretty much taken in a way that's corrective, because when I see one individual making that amount of money in overtime, it's hard for me to understand how in half a year that individual has already made practically what they've made in 12 months of the prior year.
On my first bullet point in the summary, it goes from, it mentions from October the 1st, 23 through April 15th of 24, the Sheriff's Department has already spent 79% of the prior year's overtime. At this pace, the department will spend approximately $214,000 in overtime by the end of the fiscal year, compared to $147,000 from the prior year. This would be an equivalent to 3 full-time officers with fringe benefits.
That's including the benefits on that?
Yes.
Okay. Questions? So I specifically, just have some concerns, with this as far as how we are handling the overtime issue. And mind you, of course, the review on that specifically in regards to the actual licensing and the issues on the law enforcement side, that also was conducted, Mr. Trevino?
Yes, Your Honor. I had.
Do you have questions?
I don't know. I guess we would have to look at, because it's a big difference. We're looking at 43 employees, and the top one up to date 21,000. The middle one, we're looking at 1,200 overtime.
Correct.
Within a period of 6-7 months.
Yes.
And then the lowest made at $36. And
1 second, Sheriff, and then I'll make sure that you have your opportunity, sir.
It is. I don't know if they have a scale, but I guess we would have to meet with them and figure out how they use, or how they determine who is going to be going for overtime, or How do they determine that? But that's a question for them. On I guess.
Was there a scale provided to you on that measurement on how they determine that, Mr. Trevino?
No, but Mr. De Leon or the sheriff could
Well, they would have that.
probably answer that.
In regards to the licensing point, is there a separate documentation on that one?
Yes, there is,
Okay.
Judge. I asked, I had permission to work with HR, and I asked Mr. Sanchez to take care of that. I believe he's prepared a report and is ready to share it with the court.
Do you have that, Mr. Sanchez? Very well. I know that we've authorized HR to work hand in hand with the auditor. Did you have a question, Commissioner?
Yes, just the overtime comes from specifically from where? What is the fund that the overtime comes from?
It's the general fund.
The general fund.
Well, there's a set overtime fee amount that is set for the department, specifically on that issue for the year. In this fiscal year, they've already surpassed the overtime budget specifically for this year. So any changes on overtime would need to come through the amendment process before the court.
And they have already.
Yes. Do you have any documentation for the court, Mr. Sanchez, or is it just specifically on reporting purposes?
Well, I don't have any information specifically other than the information.
No, but actual document for the court to review alongside with whatever you're presenting.
Okay. Well, I just
or if you wish to review it, and then you can provide a copy.
No,
to the court.
that's fine. You can stick for that.
Yes. And let me then just kind of just go on to that, because I know that let's say with us, I mean in my departments, which I hardly have anybody that's not on a set salary. They're not hourly, except until July 1st. I'll have 2 people that'll be in all of the departments that I currently run that will be pretty much going through that hourly phase. But as far as the authorization for the overtime process, is there a process that is followed right now for the overtime on that mechanism, or specifically, let's say on the law enforcement side? Because with us, they obviously have to get it pre-authorized.
Yes. As far as the sheriff's office is concerned, I don't know that there's a process that they follow other than the assignments that are made, on overtime. I know that the officers work their daily hours, on their assignments when they're assigned to work on that particular day. Then afterwards, my understanding is they work after hours. That's where most of the overtime comes out of.
The normal payroll process is submitting approved timesheets.
Yeah.
And not only that, they also provide affidavits as to the actual hours worked every time period.
Okay, so then I guess explain then further to me, Mr. Trevino, on that issue. If a director submits or an elected official submits to for payroll purposes, if there's a submission for an employee who is going to be working 8 to 6, they punched in at 8 a.m. but they failed to punch out at 7. They worked later. In that matter, they didn't punch out. Is that when an affidavit is required?
No,
Or how explain to me the affidavit process.
They've been submitting affidavits as to the hours worked.
Is this every payroll?
Yes.
So every payroll, it's an affidavit.
Yes.
It's not actual punched in.
No, there's timesheets. Treasurer runs a payroll.
Okay.
function. And it's my understanding that there's a payroll timesheet along with a affidavit stating the hours worked by each employee.
Okay.
Every pay period. Is that correct, Troy? Yes.
Mr. Sanchez. We have your document now, sir, so
Okay.
if you wish to proceed on that one.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to address your attention to the information that was provided by the Sheriff Department in reference to T-close requirements as to who needs to have a license or get a license certificate, would be the peace officers, the jailers, and telecommunicators. Based on that information, I went to STW and got all the employees, and those employees, if you look at this form that has the names of the employees, their position, and if a certificate is needed, let's say for example on the first one, you need a T-close certification, and this individual complies with the certification. The second one, under T-close, this individual does not need a certification based on the rationale that the requirements from T-close. So when I wrote rationale, I was basing myself on the information that was provided to me that indicates what positions need a certification. And then, of course, we have some employees that work in the office that don't need a certification. I also have, if you look at specifically the jailers, you have under compliant date, those individuals, if you'll notice, the first jailer, this individual certification is pending. This individual, by July the 10th of 2024, has to have their certification. Otherwise, they can't continue working there. And so it goes with all the jailers. And those that have complied, of course, you see complied. And at this point,
And for the patrolling officers, for their, because I'm just looking at that specifically, because you have them specifically set for the jailers and transport officers. So was there a review that was done also on the actual patrolling?
I didn't do a review on the patrols. I just did on the jailers. I mean, unless I misunderstood my instructions.
Okay. So I think specifically just to make sure that everything is in compliance as far as on the licensing for that, because it was a full-blown license for that review alongside with the question that was also in question as far as on the reserves, if I believe, which is also something that you submitted.
On the reserve deputies, I did provide a listing of all the reserve deputies. Well, I would have to go back and get their licenses and so forth. Okay.
So then we're still pending, obviously, information then on the licensing standpoint specifically.
Yes, on all the reserve deputies and their licenses.
Okay.
I'm going to have to go back to the constables and, of course, the sheriff department to get that information, and I'll provide it.
There has been a preliminary one done on the reserves, correct? Because that document, I think, has already reached my office.
Well, yes, but the only thing I indicated there was they were on reserves. Okay.
The names.
The names,
okay.
Yes, and that's what I understood, that you needed a listing of the names, and I provided that already. Okay. However, if needed, I can go back and go to the constables and go to the sheriff department, and next to the reserve's name, indicate their certification, and they should all have a T-close peace officer.
Correct.
Otherwise, they wouldn't qualify to be reserves.
So I believe that was part of what we needed to just obtain within the review, and of course on the audit side, just to make sure that everything has been in compliance, as for at least for the information of the court, specifically for that end. I think when the court asked for this information, it was specific based on the situations that we were seeing, based on the year prior, on the overtime matters that we were facing, and two, of course, on the continuation of the concern on just making sure that licensing and everything is in compliance for the department in that matter. I do want to. I have a couple of questions that I have for legal, but I know that would have to be addressed in closed session. But Sheriff, I know that you had asked to say something, and I want to make sure that I give you the opportunity to speak. Yes, please, feel free.
Judge, in reference to the overtime, it's the sheriff department. I guess not only the sheriff department, but the other law enforcement departments. We also have trouble with years back with the overtime, because my deputies, when they stop a vehicle or something like that, or something happens and it's time to go home, they have to stay there and take care of it. They just can't go home, right? Now we have this individual who's making a lot of overtime, and he's with the CID department. In the CID department, all those investigators do not get overtime, and this person is the supervisor. So whenever there's cases and so forth, he goes, and if he's not working, they call him, he has to go over there. And also we had complaints from the Nano Commissioner Rios, noticed that over there in El Indio, they have complaints of vehicles going real fast, the safety factor in reference to the schools and so forth. I get those complaints. So that's the reason this person's always being called, because he's the only one. He's close to that area, and he's the only one with the CID division that can, work overtime. When my deputies worked overtime, it's not that they just want to make the money. They're working out there. It's hot and everything, cold days, and there's times that they just can't go and clock up, go home. If I would like to pass the floor, if you don't mind, is to my chief deputy. He's in charge of the operations. Maybe he can give you more details in reference to the overtime, and then my warrant in reference to the jails, so forth. Thank you, Judge.
Yes, sure.
Judge, Commissioners, we were awarded in 2022, 2023, we were awarded $88,000 for overtime, and that year we spent $118,000 of overtime. I believe that was the first year that they actually removed the comp time from the deputies, and they started paying overtime for the deputies. After that, this year we were awarded less money, $86,600 on overtime, when it's been shown that we need more money to spend in overtime. Now, they didn't take into consideration the pay rate that we got increased also. I know we were paying, I think the deputies were getting paid $17, and now they're getting paid $20.08, $20.05, which roughly an officer is making $5 more an hour per overtime when he works. And that's only one officer, $5 more an hour. And that's why that's why you see that jump from that to this. Also, we had major events in our community this year, which requires the sheriff's office to deploy several deputies at once for several days in the Camao area and Rosita Valley, and we had other issues also. Now that we also are working in conjunction with ISDPD in reference to the active shooters in schools, we also have more responsibilities that the state is requiring the sheriff to do. So that's some of what I can tell you right now. If you have any more questions, or tell me the names, and we can sit down and talk about what can we do in reference to that.
Well, the issue, Mr. Or Chief Leone, was not specifically the names on the individuals, because we're not looking at any one individual. My issue here, that's why specifically we asked for them to be numbered for us not to know specifically on those names. But, and of course that document, of course, is provided to everyone specifically. I'm sure that through any other information, if the court wishes, they could get the information if they ask for it. But in regards to what I'm looking at here, and just from what I see, I mean, obviously there is just a concern, because we understand, we see what the officers are going through and what you all are having to deal with. If there's a need for additional personnel, well then we need obviously the assistance of the Sheriff's Department to work with us on of course how payroll is going to be distributed properly. Because this here is a team effort, and I'm glad that the majority of y'all are here today to hear this for yourselves. And I wanted to have this in open session because I felt that it was important for y'all to know that this is not anything personal. This is just making sure that, one, me as a budget officer, that we can make sure and work together as a department and here to specifically come up with the plan of action as to how we're going to be able to afford this. And mind you, you cannot put a price on safety, but I also know that at the end of the day, when you're looking at this matter, we also need to make sure that we are budget conscious on what it is that we have. That we all have to agree. If you don't have the money coming in, then it's an issue. We've had a decrease in funding that has been coming in from whatever it has been, specifically from the jailers or from the outside inmates that have not been able to. And we have seen that issue, and we have been working together specifically on that matter in order to address that. Obviously, new contracts have been issued with other counties in order to address that issue, and also to make sure that we are processing people out quicker, which we have been working closely with you all on that matter. I do believe that there are some issues that we need to work out, but that's a separate topic and a separate conversation that I think that we need to have at a later point. But here my point is just making sure that what we are looking at is that we need to be aware of how we are handling the budgetary constraints and how we are working together to make sure that we can meet that goal. We all are doing everything. Every department has been cut based on what it is. And I understand that it is a safety issue and that we have to put that at the forefront. But also, I find it just very hard and very difficult for me to look at the numbers that are being presented by the audit, and then to turn around and see that in any given 2 years that it still becomes, based on the numbers that are provided specifically, that it's still within that range. And it's still those same employees that are making large amounts, such as $24,000, $18,000, $9,000. It is nothing based on anything short of us looking at this in a fairness standpoint, and also looking to see how we can control that. Because I continue to see budget amendments that are coming before my office, making requests from within your department, asking specifically that we take away from prisoner care, or that we take away from other specific departments where we cannot be doing that. I mean, that's what they're set for. But we need to make sure that we're working on this jointly together. That's why these audits are requested. They're not requested for any other reason other than making sure that these issues are addressed and how we can move forward.
Sure.
So I am hopeful, and I, of course, want to make sure that I extend this to you from the court level, that we're here to work together and to come up with the best solution. Mind you, not all the time can we find and we can give you, the Cadillac of a budget. I wish we all could. I wish every department and every precinct could have the budget that they wish. We've got roads that need to be fixed in every single precinct. Just tell the people, and of course the ones that you all are out there dealing with when you're patrolling off of Rosita Valley Road or Old Pioneer Road, or roads that are out there that need a lot of work. There's a lot of requests that people are asking for, and we're trying to get to the level to where we can make sure that we can turn around and say, you know what, we're understanding that there is that concern, but we also need for everyone to understand that we all need to be on the same playing field here, working together as a team. I can't have one department exceeding in expenses versus others that are still trying to maintain. We need to keep it controlled. So that's why I asked for this to be, or the court asked for this specifically to address this issue, so that we can try to do what's right. And that's all I, as a presiding officer of the court here, ask is that we do, and that we continue working to address that. So I know that, is there any other questions from the court regarding this matter?
Chief,
Yes.
Yes.
I just okay. So from just wondering, from the OLS money, I know that you got some positions and all of that. But is there room for any overtime from that money?
No, ma'am.
There's no room for that.
No, ma'am.
But
there's
Stone
only
Garden,
80 hours. I'm sorry?
Stone Garden?
Stone Garden?
Yes, but that's limited. And
Awesome.
it's limited by Border Patrol, because Border Patrol indicates to us, okay, I need you to go work in Quemado. So we have to stay in Quemado. And if there's another incident happening in La Monita, well, Patrol has to take care of that, because we have to stay in the north side. Unless we call and it goes up the chain of command, and then 30, 45 minutes later comes back and said, okay, go ahead and move if it's needed, or we have to stay where we're at. So it's restricted in reference to when we go to get deployed to our community in reference to Stone Garden.
I just have one question, Mr. De Leon. You said that whenever there's a need, you send somebody. Do you have a scale or how do you? Because when I'm looking at the numbers here, it looks like there's only 2-3 employees that are being sent, and I don't know who they are. I just like the judge said their numbers, and I'm just trying to see, like in my office when I have an event. And we do overtime, that it's comp time, it's everybody, that whoever 3-4 employees, and they all work the same. I'm just trying to figure out what the difference is here in 24,000 versus $30 some. Do you have a scale that if you get a call, you send whoever's out there in the field, or you just send out one person?
It all depends on the situation.
Okay.
So, and one of them is, like the sheriff said, one of them lives in Quemado, and he takes care of that in the morning. The community from Quemado advised us that they were very worried for their children when they were loading to the school bus or unloading the school bus because of the traffic. So he lives there. He takes care of that traffic. He goes in 2 hours early. He takes care of that traffic. He comes in, takes care of whatever he needs to take care of here to 5, 6 in the afternoon sometimes, and then goes home. And the other ones, we do give them the opportunity, but sometimes they don't want to work overtime. They do. That person, that officer, is actually the one staying, you know. And she's actually she's been there many years, and she's and many times put the department first, you know, because she knows and understands her value there in the department and dispatch.
So let's say dispatch. That's very concerning for me.
Yes.
Because when you look at that situation, you want to make sure that you have somebody who is not going to be tired, who's not going to be overworked, they get put into a predicament through 911.
Yes.
So those are the types of issues. All right. Well, then instead of having somebody go through an overtime phase, why aren't we looking and making a request for a dispatcher to an additional dispatcher specifically for that?
We are.
So those are the issues that I think that we need to be looking at. But I also know that if we're going to be looking at that, we need to make sure that we're going to address it to where there's also going to be a sense of control on the overtime.
Of course.
If not, right now, currently, law enforcement is the only one that's above the 280 rule on everything else. So you all have to put in how many comp time hours?
480.
480.
Yes.
So said, if obviously the majority of these individuals have already passed the 480 comp time in order to be making overtime.
No. Right now, patrol gets paid whatever minute they pass, they get paid overtime.
So patrolling is not on the 480 rule?
No. And we've addressed to you this situation, Judge, and Mr. Ruiz has gone to the office, and we've actually spoken in reference to the increase of calls, the increase, not the calls just for dispatch, but the calls for the deputies, you know. And for us, the sheriff is very glad that we just hired six new deputies, and they're being trained right now. Due to the increase, due to SB 22, now they're staying instead of leaving. And that's one of the major issues we're having, is that there's a class of law enforcement that is 30 man deep, yet 20, 25 go out. San Antonio, Austin, Houston, where they get paid.
You can't compete with salaries that are coming, and especially with federal employment.
No. So what we do, this year with this salary that has been 22 enhanced our salary, so that's why we're getting 6 new officers. So we should be fine, but the officers can't be on their own right now. They have to go through an FTO, and it takes a period.
How long is the FTO?
3 months.
So, yeah,
and we do extend it if they need to, and some do not pass. Yes.
Yes.
Do these 2 individuals that got moved from jailers to patrol, do they have to go through the FBO as well?
Yes.
They do?
Yes. It's a different line of work.
Oh, okay.
And for their safety and the safety of the other officers, they're
dealing with inmates on jailers.
Yes, sir.
And you have the equipment for them to be out in the field?
Right now, we are purchasing some weapons and some vests for them, but yes, they will be having the equipment. We'll be using, I believe, SB-22 to purchase some safety equipment for their officers.
Vehicle as well?
We do need vehicles for next year. Yes.
Okay. And I see that you have 16 that are pending the certification, which shows that they're all in compliance because they have the dates, which is good. That report looks good.
Okay. I do have some questions that I'd like to just kind of follow up with. No, you're good. You're excused. With legal in regards to this, so if the court is amenable, I'd like to just ask a couple of these questions in closed session, and that way we can proceed. So, with the court's permission, or with the court's consideration on this particular item, based off of section 551.071, discussion with the attorney in regards to the state code regarding the presentation by county auditor on audit conducted on law enforcement offices regarding licensing and payroll personnel. Let the record reflect that this court will go into executive session at 3:54 p.m. on Friday, June 7th. I don't want these to get